Am I the a-hole for not making amends with my mother after she called Child Protective Services on my wife? I, 35M, grew up with a mother who had one foot in love and the other in manipulation. There was no middle ground with her. Either I was her golden child or I didn't exist. As a kid, that kind of emotional whiplash messes you up. My dad, while far from perfect, was at least steady. He showed up for me. My mom? She was there when she felt like it. Warm, doting even until something flipped and she turned ice cold. Everything really blew up when I was 18. Right before I left for college, my mom cheated on my dad with our pastor. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the infidelity, but because this man had baptized me, counseled our family, and was essentially part of our lives for years. That fallout split our family in two. I moved 16 hours away for college and completely cut contact with her. I didn't want anything to do with either of them. For 2 years, there was silence. And then, just before Christmas, I decided to reach out. She hadn't contacted me once in all that time. Still, I missed having a mother. I told myself, maybe people change. Maybe she had. But that rekindling? It was always one-sided. She never visited me at school, not once in 4 years, even though I offered to fly her out for graduation. My dad, meanwhile, made the long drive several times, always bringing along my younger siblings so they'd still feel connected to me. After graduation, I took a job back in my home state and brought my college girlfriend, now my wife, with me. She left her whole family behind to start a life with me. We got married a year later. At first, it seemed like my mom and my wife got along. They went shopping, had lunches, and seemed genuinely friendly. I remember thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe I finally have the family I always dreamed of. Then came our first child. My wife suffered from postpartum depression. I failed her during that time. I was overwhelmed, confused, and instead of supporting her like a real partner, I vented to my family. I talked about her struggles, her medication, her mood swings, things I should have protected, not broadcasted. In hindsight, I handed my mother ammunition without even realizing it. When we were expecting our second child, my wife, knowing her risk for PPD, proactively made a plan with her doctor to go on medication immediately after the birth. I shared that plan with my mom. Again, a mistake, and she went off the rails. She said my wife was selfish, that the medication would poison the baby, that no good mother would choose pills over her child. My mom had been a nurse, and I, foolishly, trusted her judgment over my wife's medical team. I sided with my mother and told my wife not to take the medication. It nearly destroyed us. But she stood firm and took it anyway. And thank God she did. She stayed mentally healthy, though her physical recovery was rough. Around that time, we bought a house an hour away from my parents, hoping some space might ease the tension. It didn't. My mom grew bitter. She didn't like that my wife didn't bring the kids to visit during the week. My wife offered for her to come visit instead, an open invitation, but my mom took it as an insult. The drive was too far, yet she expected my wife to make the trip with 2 small children. The car naps would mess up their schedule, she said. The kids would be cranky and wouldn't sleep. My mom didn't care. She wanted what she wanted, and when she didn't get it, she started sowing resentment. What happened next still feels surreal. One afternoon, a social worker showed up at our door. CPS had received an anonymous report. Allegations of child neglect. Claims that we were isolating our kids, that they were being locked in cages. In reality, we had a gated play area for our toddler to safely play in while my wife did laundry or made dinner. There were even references to my wife's postpartum depression, as if her past mental health made her an unfit mother. We were terrified. Even though we had nothing to hide, the idea that someone could weaponize a system meant to protect children was horrifying. And the worst part? We found out from my siblings that it was my mom who made the call. She wasn't just gossiping anymore. She was actively trying to tear apart my family. We had to go through the entire CPS process. Every room of our home inspected. Every parenting decision scrutinized. It was humiliating, invasive, and traumatic. In the end, we were cleared. The case was closed and marked as a false report. But the damage was done. Our attorney advised us to cut all contact. There was no recourse for false allegations in our state, no legal protection from this kind of character assassination. The only safeguard was distance. Before we moved, again, this time to a different state, I confronted her. I told her I knew what she'd done. I told her the only way forward was for her to take responsibility and apologize to my wife. She refused. Doubled down, actually. Said she was just concerned that someone needed to step in, that my wife was unstable. That she had done the right thing. That was it for me. We left. changed our numbers. We built our life elsewhere, and finally, things started to feel peaceful. Fast forward 7 years. We're in a new city, new home, with a third child now. We've healed, or at least tried to. But the past doesn't stay buried forever. At a recent family wedding, my mom didn't show up, but she sent her husband, my former pastor, to speak on her behalf. He cornered me and said she was heartbroken that I've cut her off, that she misses her grandkids. I asked him, has she apologized to my wife yet? He scoffed. We don't care about that anymore. But I do. My wife does. Because what my mother did could have ruined our lives. She could have ripped our children away from their home, all over her pride and her inability to be told no. Now my siblings are piling on. They say I need to be the bigger person. That enough time has passed. That forgiveness is the right thing to do. But how do you forgive someone who's never admitted they were wrong? Who's never even tried to make amends? If she could lie once, so convincingly, so destructively, what's stopping her from doing it again? I don't trust her. And frankly, I'm afraid for my children's safety if she's in their lives. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to reconcile with my mom unless she takes full accountability? TLDR, my estranged mother called CPS on my wife after she refused to drive an hour each way, with 2 kids to visit her. The false allegation stemmed from my wife's history with postpartum depression. CPS investigated and cleared us, but we cut off all contact. My mom never apologized. Now, years later, my family thinks I'm the asshole for not getting over it. But how do you forgive someone who tried to destroy your family,